Good day, and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. I only received one recommendation this week, which is a bit of a pity, but it was recommended to me as being a curious game, so, well, let's see what's afoot. Banana Brain going for what looks like a proxy. Oh, and it's spotted immediately, that's a shame. And let's see how Crazio will react. By the looks of it, well, what can you do at this point? Gateway ready? Should be able to plop down a bunker record speed, perhaps wall off this thing too tightly. Oh, look at that. Another depot just to block it off. And the first zealot isn't out yet, so should be okay. If the Marine pops out on the right side, and that is not the left side, if you know what I mean. And, oh, thank God it's over here. So, 2-gate pretty much shut down. And the Marine knows what to do. SCVs are coming off to repair. Not a second Marine is to be produced. So, and where is the bloody Marine? Oh, it's right here between. That's pretty dangerous. Now let's see how much DPS this one Marine has got. Crazio nicely balancing the number of repairers with the number of zealots. And this one Marine, oh, it did get a hit on its nose. That's unfortunate. Could do with another one, but instead of defending the realm, it enters the bunker, and, well, that's not all that great. Crazio then goes for a machine chop. I guess this situation is sort of under control, but the thing is that there will be goons soon too, and perhaps Crazio, oh, the range is there for the rightmost zealot. And that's some free kills for Crazio right there. More Marines to be built, no range yet. And I think that Crazio will be going for that tank, because as soon as there are goons, you sort of need them, because, well, then again, how many goons can you get up the ramp? The SCVs would be in danger though, and that's always the nice bit about melee versus range. And small peek at the production tab. Yes, it is siege mode, and no, there isn't a tank yet, because Crazio is... oh, there is the tank. So there you go. But the first goon is there, and now the SCVs are a bit in a muddle. I think they are going to get damaged. They will not really repair themselves as good as can be. But the zealots, oh, and the goon takes his leave of the depot. Here comes the tank though, and siege mode is done, so that is right on time. But the zealots break through, and oh dear, oh dear, now they all run, and they should have gone for the tank perhaps, but perhaps maybe just as wise to relent a little bit. And now the new gathering point is with the proxy gates. Oh dear, oh dear. Banana Brain capitalizing on the situation by getting an early natural. Crazio now is going for... oh, that is very ballsy, and of course Protoss immediately overruns it. And how many Marines are there in that bunker? There must be only one. And now you've got no ramp, no barracks, and only one bunker with 2 Marines in it and 2 siege tanks. Of course, that does the trick. But Crazio was very, very nearly overrun there. And just by the grace of 2 Marines in there. Oh dear, a shuttle. Where is that shuttle going? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Work production for Banana Brains off the hook, 45. Now Crazio's going to move out, but it's just an army of 8, and that's the entire army there is. So God knows what it's going to do, but I think... oh yes, here we go. That didn't work as well as planned. The first tank is dead, and the second tank will get off one more shot and is dead as well. Now Crazio has got 5 army supply, which most of it is stuck over here, and it has to rebuild the barracks. And now, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Banana Brain is getting farther and farther ahead. Crazio with a relatively lower APM, that's pretty good to see. The thing though is that play is not as it's... oh, what? Oh, the combat micro. Banana Brain is completely gone berserk. And Crazio, for some reason, can still defend this, because the units of Banana Brain plainly refused to fire, and most of the army was still over here anyway. So that was pretty strange. And now Crazio is going to move out again with its 5 units. And Banana Brain doesn't really dare an attack. That's costing it a lot of units. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Banana Brain, what are you doing? You've got this, but you are throwing it away. Banana Brain with the 4th base, 3rd base up and running, both of them with cannons. Lots of work. Oh, we've got a Reaver as well, which is doing a lot of damage. But the worker transfer is... Oh, that was... Ah, that Reaver is doing pretty well. And, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, such a number of probes is going down. That's really unfortunate. And a Zealot as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There is going to be a pair of cannons up here soon too, and Crazy is going to push out again. And Banana Brain is all over the place. Crazy has actually got the army advantage. And Banana Brain scouts the natural, but it's not doing anything about it because its combat micro is just so... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. A couple of shots on the vultures, but then the tanks clean it up. The repair is there, and now with 4 tanks approaching the natural. No air units. Oh, an Arbiter might be nice, but obviously nothing is planned as of yet. Banana Brain has got the income superiority and the map information, but it's just unable to handle a couple of siege tanks. And throwing away workers left, right and center. Reaver's getting killed without firing a single shot. Goons coming out, firing only 1 shot, and then dying. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Banana Brain, what the hell are you doing? This is not good at all. You are doing so great, macro and scouting wise. Crazy are now on 2 bases, might just as well because the main is mining out, but... Oh, the workers are transferring back straight through Crazier's army. Here goes the natural. And I think, unless a very miraculous white rabbit is coming out of the hat of Banana Brain... Oh dear, has got an Arbiter with a Reaver underneath, that's pretty good. Crazio now going for the 3rd over here. Oh, but no, 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 no. Oh, nice stasis over there, but that's losing your main base for no good reason. Banana Brain on 15 army supply. It is not really rebuilding anywhere, just... Oh, dear God. And then again, not saying that Crazio is bad, but... Oh, that was... Oh, and the new army is coming along quite nicely. The problem is that Mr. Crazio now has got the entire map. And, well, where do you start at a point like this? Retaking the main base, although there's nothing there in mineral-wise. And, yeah. Crazio's taking its sweet time too, is going for the main again. Top priority, although the larger threat, or at least the threat, a handful of goons and an Arbiter is lurking over here. Now Crazio's got things well under control, another base up, and still the observers see anything. Or I mean everything, and here goes the last base. So Crazio Terran on its way. A little bit suspect handling of that 2-gate proxy, but in the end powering through, maxed again. That's the GG. And the game is now gone. So next one up, it's Halpan. Halpan suffered another upgrade, so let's see what that's going to do. Prism Cactus on the other end. It's been a while since we saw an update from that gentle bot, but it is pretty good. So let's see. Oh dear, oh dear. So many workers coming off to... Oh god. That's not good. That's half the... No, that's not half. That's 1/3 of the workforce. And it's not dangerous at all. So, Halpan going for a quick natural. Probe doing serious damage, and now is being chased off by the SCV. Bunker about to be put up at the natural choke. I think that's a good decision. And Halpan no longer trying to do everything off 1 base. That's pretty good. While Prism Cactus is going for 2 gates and a Cyber Core, and now we've got a Zealot available to chase off the scouting SCV, so that's pretty decent. 2 factories, 3 factories, and a machine shop coming up for Halpan. It's going to be factory show. Oh no, it's an eBay. And the first goon coming up could do some damage to the barracks, but is not doing so, perhaps when they are together. Yes, there we go. Range is nearly done. and now is done. So that should be okay. And the barracks appears to be in the probability of getting killed. And the tank, oh, the tank just can't reach the top goon. And Prism taking a lot of damage from this one bunker for no good reason. But I think that this goon too will flee when it's nearly dead. And you can do that a number of times, but you'll just end up with a number of half-dead goons. And that isn't... oh, they are going for the shield battery. So basically you've got to really try and retire your goons before too much health gets lost. And now Haupan is all over the place with its spider mines. Oh dear, oh dear. And you can see more damage will be dealt to this gateway army. Ah! Good God. That's pretty decent damage. Now 2 tanks, 1 on the high ground. Nice mechanic there from Haupan. And I think that Haupan is pretty okay. Prism going for another base though, and let's see what's coming out. We've got the shuttle, and well, if M42 ever gets back to Brutal AI and TSMU can find him in it, I'd really like to have a unit portrait so I can see what's in a shuttle. We just saw a Reaver being loaded. That's okay. Haupan's still behind on the supply, and Prism really should just, with an observer or something, just try and tackle this minefield of... or minefield. Oh, this is not good. Is there an observer somewhere? Should be. Well, there could be. Question though is, where is it? Oh, we've got one over here. It's being chased by a Wraith. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. And 2 scans later, the observer is dead. And yeah, well. Prism, where are you going from here? Taking another base. Haupan taking the 3rd. And you can see that Haupan is slowly increasing the number of tanks. And with the harassment units, it does an okay job of keeping Prism on its toes. And now these vultures, although look at the number of mines, and there is no decent observer coverage, and the zealots are getting gunned down easily by the vultures and the dragoons over here, killing a tank. The battle is all over the place, but I think I like the engagements that Prism is taking, killing a lot of tanks and units. So that move out didn't really work for Haupan, and Haupan now down in supply. And really should be careful not to lose a base, because as we saw earlier, there is a shuttle with a Reaver about, or at least somewhere. Oh, well, we have got, oh dear, a fleet beacon and a starport. So basically, this could be prevented with a cannon, and the shuttle just dies. Oh God. And oh, the siege is on at the natural. That's good. Tank doing a lot of damage from the high ground. Vulture's doing something, and this one on top of the command center is doing quite fine as well. So Prism throwing away a lot of units, but has got a quite formidable production capacity. Oh, and a Stargate, no, Gateway, bollocks, and that base. That's good. Problem is though that Prism hasn't really got a very advanced state of mind, and is losing a lot of units to mines and to wraiths as well. They are just going to go straight into the main base, and then the entire army will have to come back, and as there is no observer, 3 wraiths are basically pulling back and confusing at the ramp the entire army and a sizable chunk of workers. And you can see here that the observer does do a lot of good, but it's a little bit careless, and it gets sniped by the wraith, and now the wraith lives. And with a couple of cannons you could just create safe zones for wraiths. Haupan going for another base, and Haupan exactly knows where to hurt the enemy, and is doing so at the cost of only a couple of vultures. So that's not good. And 2 goons are coming in, but oh, the Nexus sort of lives. And with a couple of cannons you might just prevent that. So 2 cannons for a lot of workers, and in this case for a lot of observers. Just make these little safe zones for yourself and you'd be okay. Now Haupan is setting up shop in the middle of the map, 100 army supply, and a small peek at the upgrade. Oh, there is no Protoss upgrade at all, save for goon range. So a couple of things to work on. Oh, and this one carrier will not save the day probably. So yes, Haupan going to power through, max now, 80 workers, 120 army supply. And very decent upgrades. Turrets all over the place, mines everywhere. And these 3 Vulture raids are going to shut it down quite nicely. So I'm going to call the GG and hop into the next game. It's Chimera Bot, and Chimera Bot is going to play as Zerg, which might be Chris Coax, and let's see if it's done the upgrade. No, it's going for a 4-pool. And at the other end of the map we've got Purple Destiny, so Purple Destiny is pretty well versed and should know what's coming up. Going for a quick gateway. I think though I don't know if it's fast enough though. The first Zealot will arrive just about on time, so perhaps with the workers. Oh, is going for a defensive 2-gate. That's pretty nice. Worker defense is on top of the situation. And this Zealot I cannot really select. Oh, it's dead. That's unfortunate. But 2 more Zealots are coming, so now it's basically a 2-gate versus a 4-pool. And that can only go one way. Let's see if Chimera will transition out of it. We've got now 3 Zealots. And they have things well, and oh, 4 Zealots now, that's pretty nice. And now Chimera is transitioning out, or at least is building a one sunken kind of thing. Could do with a couple of workers though, and oh, here we go, 1 worker build. The problem is that there is a lot of Zealots which do not understand the situation, because if you've just killed a 4-pool, you should just march anything you've got over and not block the ramp for your your probe. Nice lineup of Zealots though, so that's I would expect some kind of mechanic where they would open up and just let this one probe pass as the guest of honor. But unfortunately it's not working, and Purple Destiny is going for a lot of Zealots off 1 base, and that's should be giving Chimera the chance to do something else, but unfortunately it's just going for more Zerglings off 1 base. Not slipping in, there you go, slipping in a drone. And more drones. And Purple Destiny is completely lost. It cannot really make this line of Zealots anymore. It's still making a lot of them. So the question is, how many Zealots can you make off 1 base without attacking? The answer seems to be at least 40. And now 2 pylons right over here. And that seems to be the real question. Where are you going to put the next pylon? Now, oh dear, if this is going to be a lair, I'm going to laugh my ass off. Oh dear. A lot of mutants are coming, and Purple... Oh, there are going to be a couple of goons. That's good. The mutant numbers, though, are quite... Oh, not so impressive, but... this game is completely off the rails. Now the goons, I think, have this under control. The mutant numbers are not that high. And it's good to see Purple Destiny transition out of pure Zealots, because stopping a 4-gate with Zealots is, and with a 2-gate, is okay, but this is a little bit overkill. And now you'd really have to move out or have not enough minerals. Oh, for a natural. That's good. Oh, and a large round of Zerglings and a Queen's Nest. Oh yes, good lord. So these 2 players exactly reading what's going on, but their reactions to one another's build orders are not as good as could be expected. And finally Purple Destiny is moving out and cleans it up. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So, yes. What's this then? That's just 1 sunk, and you've got 114 supply. And this 1 sunken building don't really have a kill counter, so that doesn't really work. And Purple Destiny staying on 1 base, just making a lot of goons and losing a lot of stuff to this 1 sunken, which has not been touched. And there come the Zealots. Yes, finally, that's the GG, good lord. So, next game up, it's Antigua versus Skynet. But at least a fork, and I was really excited when I saw that Skynet fork, because Skynet is so very, very good, and last update 2013. If you go and run with it, it might be excellent, but you need to put a little bit of work in, and from what I've seen, the last update has been donkeys years ago, so that's unfortunate. going for a 1 gate with a bit of zealot harassment. I think that's good. Antigua taking its sweet time. What's it making? Oh, it's forgoing any kind of zealots. Going for a goon first, and that goon... Oh dear, oh dear, that goon's not very brave, but I'm inclined to think that... oh dear, oh dear, the goon will let itself get killed for no good reason. There must be more goons soon, so that's... Oh, well, the probes will just manage it. Now that will mean that Skyfall will have a little bit of a worker advantage. And has got a goon out and is going for DTs as well. And Antigua is going to make units, I hope, eventually. Oh, there is 1 cannon, that's good. There might be 2 cannons soon, if that one lives. And now it's 2 goons, and I must say that Skynet is fighting the better fight at the moment. Will be 2 cannons soon, so that's going to be... oh, well, that was victory by Antigua. But I'm sure there might be... Yes, that's more like it. Better ways to out-micro a single zealot, and now with the cannons. I think that Antigua, for the time being, is pretty safe. Has got a number of goons. And Skyfall is just not going to get range because reasons. Neither player going for expansion. Oh, and the Dark Templar thing is finally coming into play. There are cannons. That's okay. More DTs and zealots are coming up. And Skyfall is mining out the neutral minerals. I think that's a nice trick, going for an expansion as well. And even though you cannot really outright kill Antigua with these Dark Templar, you've got map control, as there is no... Oh, there is a robo base, should be an observatory soon too. I think that's going to be it. Nice bit of adaptive play by Antigua. You could, however, micro versus these zealots a little bit better, especially considering you've got range, they haven't got speed. In the face of the Dark Templars though, I'd get the hell out of there, and perhaps, if you have already seen Dark Templar, perhaps put up a cannon or 2 or 3 over at the natural. And Skyfall is going for the kill, but forgetting that there are 2 cannons, so these Dark Templar, although they're doing a fair bit of damage, they cannot get the job done because there is just too much firepower at the side of Antigua. Antigua doing okay. The natural lives because Skyfall forgot to kill it. Skyfall going for the 3rd, having mined out the neutral minerals over here. And Antigua has got an observer, so Antigua handling itself pretty well, responding with an observer to the Dark Templars, and Skyfall isn't a purple wave or a Lacuta, so isn't going to kill you outright. And this attack by Antigua is kind of abortive, or is getting aborted by Skyfall, I should say. This is a complete misunderstanding of the situation, moving out with 4 goons if you know the enemy has got the natural up. The 3rd, I think, is not yet known. Another base over here being engaged by a probe. And right now you should try and kill these 4 units instead of losing your natural. And this breakdancing observer, oh, I always love it when they do that, is having the time of its life. Now Skyfall is misreading the game as well, because it's building cannons in the main and more gateways, and this is going to be... I don't know what it's going to be. Nice tight building placement, but if you know that the enemy has got a base over there, you could just kill it. But oh, that was a Reaver, which I totally missed. There is one more Reaver doing a lot of damage at the bridges, and if there is a place to do a lot of damage, it should be at the bridges. So Antigua fighting the good fight, I believe, because Skyfall is not to be underestimated, and although it's hard to say what's different in the fork, I think that Antigua is defending itself quite nicely. Now the Reaver's rocking up the front, and as there are so many zealots which can be targeted with the splash damage, oh, and now it dies. But the goons clean up the zealots, and I think that Antigua is holding its own pretty well, rebuilding the natural, and Skyfall is just throwing more zealots and goons at it. Has got some more upgrades, so that's coming to come in handy later on. The goons of Antigua's, though, are doing okay, and if the Reaver... No, well, there isn't a Reaver at this moment. Point, though, is that Skyfall has got the better macro, And if you look at the production tab, Antigua is doing okay, but there are some scarabs and pylons over there, and for Skyfall is just units and one Nexus. So this is going to be the charge of the Light Brigade, and you can see that this army movement of Antigua's is all in one control group. It can either advance or retreat. It doesn't do any subtle grouping to perhaps get this Reaver in position or move some goons to the low ground. Just not working, and of course the neutral minerals are a bit of a pain. So now both bases of Antigua's under attack. Skyfall doing great. Not getting any too fancy units. If you look at the composition, it's just goons and zealots. They have got decent upgrades. Oh, and I think that there are going to be Dark Temper White, that an upgrade, and that research. Well, I don't know. And now going for the kill on these probes. Of course, they can't get through here, but now Antigua's reduced to no income, 1 Reaver. And can we see how many Scarabs? Oh, there are 15 Scarabs, that's good. This is not a base, it's just a neutral critter. And Antigua is doing a raid with a handful of goons on this base, but the 2 cannons, they do take the edge of a little bit, and now it will give time to the main army to come back and sweep up this last bit of goons. Now this small army is completely stuck, so although Skyfall can mine out these neutral minerals, it doesn't really understand them as well as it could have. And now the last defenders die, so Antigua showing some promise, but as you can always say in Brutal AI land, a lot of work is still to be done. Next game up, it's TC Mu Zerg versus TC Mu Random, and TC Mu Zerg got an upgrade, and TC Mu Random is rolling as Terran, so that should be a pretty interesting game. TC Mu Zerg is not always doing the Queen's build versus Terran anymore, so that's something. It can still do it, of course, so let me not be disappointed, please, Mr. TC Mu Zerg. Going for a pool, that's always a good start. At the Terran end, we've got 1 barracks, a couple of depots, and the scouting drone. So, nothing too fancy. And this looks like it's going to be factory, so no bio play out of TC Mu Terran. Zerg, though, is going for a couple of Sunkens for the natural. I think that's okay. Otherwise, lots of infrastructure, lots of workers, and lots of gas to be mined, so that's going to be cute. Lair is prepping, and Terran is going for vultures, spider mines, speed, and I think that TC Mu Zerg just got a good build order, because oh dear, can you get out? Well, the Zerglings can, and the Hydra could, probably, but I don't know if there is ever going to be an Ultra. I think this build order is going to be about mutas, because you never wall off your natural like this for no good reason. And Mu Terran is going to go for a lot of factories, and that's really what's making the mutas rather late. That there are so many Sunkens over here. There are a fair number of Zerglings though, so 25 Zerglings versus... ooh, this Vulture will have to run, but it could, in principle, out micro... oh, Minesweeper. And here come... oh, TC Mu must have... no. Why is it building so many Goliaths if it hasn't got a comp set yet? It is suspecting any kind of muta play. The mutas are on their way now. And this drone just doesn't really have the courage to move out. Third base being taken by Mu Zerg, and now we'll have to find the mutas and the vultures in the middle of the map. TC Mu is still so harassy that it's quite prone to this kind of skirmishes in the middle of the map. You have to find a single muta chasing a single vulture. Oh, and now the mines are getting cleaned up by the Zerglings. That's... oh, that was a nice... oh, can we have that again? That was really beautiful. So, somewhere around here there was a Zergling. No, it was 8:30. 8:21. Muta's coming in. And the first one is going to clean up a couple of mines over here. That's this one. Oh dear, no, that is just not feasible to cast Zerglings dodging spider mines. That's just interesting. Okay, so third base constructed for TSMU. Now the Mute is tearing into the Goliaths, and as there are only two, they could do very well, but they haven't got this clustered Muta micro, which we saw from Killerbot and from some McRave Zerg has done it. Overkill has done it, and I am forgetting one more good Zerg which does it, but I can't just find the name. And as a reaction, TSMU is building a Wraith, the Terran at least. And now Zerg is doing okay, just keeping tabs on the map, and you can see there is hardly a Spider-Man left. There is one SCV just roving the map. You should kill that. And TSMU Zerg just going to take more bases, and I think that's good, upping the Muta count a little bit. And as you can see, the Terran is not really appreciating the situation correctly, that it will need a lot of Goliaths because a lot of Mutas are being produced. Oh, and why would you build another Spire, and where is it? Oh, and now the Mutas are coming in with the Zerglings. The thingies are killed, the Goliaths, and as there is only one turret and there is nothing in the bunker. Oh, there's another turret over here. Terran is suffering horribly. The Mutas, though, are doing their best to confound themselves and are going after the SCVs while that one turret takes a lot of shots. In the end, though, there is just not enough firepower, and Terran is finally... Oh, it's going to make a couple of valves. That's good. But losing the natural like that... Oh, and now the Goliaths have got their numbers up a little bit and can do quite decently against this few... this small Muta army, and the natural still standing. So I think that if these Goliaths move out, it's 4 Goliaths, 2 Valks. That's all anti-air for TSMU. And the natural is still alive. That said, you should just clear your natural first and then think about the rest of the map, as there will be Zerglings too, and the mines will also kill your own units. So now you can see that the air battle is on. The Muta numbers are decent, if not 15, and we have got 3 Valks, but they're a little bit hesitant. They are much more interested in killing an Overlord instead of... If you do a couple of volleys on these Mutas, they would be pretty much damaged. And here comes the first one. The Mutas are running already, but this Valk is sticking its neck in too deeply. Oh, there are 2. Oh, there is 1 left, and now the one just dies after the last volley. And... oh, scouting SCV, so no real threat there. TSMU is running the game brilliantly, and TSMU Terran is, well, paying the price really for not reacting to this Muta threat, and now all the workers are dead. So not going to watch the destruction of yet another Terran base. TSMU Zerg is on the bounce, and, well, I must say that I am very curious to see how it is going to progress, especially... and I might just do that right now, with the rise of McRave. And McRave is doing very well now at the 5th spot, I believe. And it's always good to see that a good bot is getting the attention it deserves. And then again, deserves. You have to find a lot of time to put into these bots, and especially for the top tier bots, it's really hard to estimate how many hours have been sunk into them, and the reward sometimes is very small because it's very hard to get your show going and stay on top, do all the right things, because there are so many things which can go wrong, and we have seen it time and time again that as these bots get more and more complex... Oh, that's a very... oh dear, dear, Seda doing the numbers on the workers. Look at that. McRave suffering horribly. And finally, with a Sunken over here, just scraping by, Seda has got the natural up and running. And make no mistake about it, Seda's still the number 1. So I thought, well, let's see how good McRave actually is. And it's now not mining at the natural. The work count's not that low to really justify that. Could put up... oh, and here comes a Hydra push. That's going to be nice. This one Vulture is running for its life, and in its wake of the scouting the side range has got, it will see all these Mutas. So let's see what there is at the side of Seda. We have got a couple of tanks and 1 bunker. Oh, and that's just going to be way too much splash damage for these Mutas to take. Mutas are going to bugger off again. Scouting SCV is still there. Minor point, but If you can prevent this kind of scouting from happening, which should be relatively easy if you have got access to mutants, which are not going to do any good here. Oh, and another couple of siege tank blasts, and that's just not worth sticking your neck into, and Seda is doing pretty well, just upping the siege tank count, worker count, and getting into its stride. McRave should just sit back, take more bases, and kill this silly scouting SCV, because that's just free information you are giving away, and it's not really necessary. Now Seda, I think, is going for either a starport or a... yes... For a moment I thought there was a command center in progress which was going to float down towards the third. Not really happening. Now with 2 comsats, Seda is just playing it safe, and McRave could really do with a lot of workers and more bases. Instead, it's just making Hydras, and I can't for the life think of me how you are going to beat... well, that should be a nice challenge for a human player, beat Seda with pure Hydra. But... oh, finally the third, and still the... oh dear, I did it again. Yes, that's it. I got my scrolling back. And still a scouting vulture is out there, and now Seda is going to take a third, and it's just... you could kill that. But instead, these Hydras, they let slip by every unit there is, and... or perhaps they are waiting for the main to be deserted, but Seda is not going to do such a thing ever. And McRave going for such a lot... oh god, not again. That's just so wasteful. I really... that are things which can be prevented, like this scout. You are seeing it all the time. It's in sight range of the building. Send one Hydra and fix it. And now the... oh, they have got a nice flank, these Hydras, but... oh, the damage of these siege tanks is just too much. +1 armor isn't even done yet, and tanks are being given the +2 upgrade already. Now, this third is well defended, and I can't really understand why you would do a muta switch at this point. You need... that is... hello, free vultures. Yes, please, at least take one. Now the mutas are in the game. They can do quite well, but you are going to need... yes, that's a free science vessel right there. Take it. Free tanks without Goliaths, take them. But for some reason these mutas are a little bit skittish. Oh, and they found this base, and I think that's the good strategy to try and pull down, but don't get into a straight fight with these Goliaths. And I like McRave, that it's macroing a little bit better, but still, that scouting SCV is still there. The unit composition is just not... it is playing okay for an AI, but the build order is just not... it's not a build order really. Just make a bunch of Hydras and Lings and Mutas and do all kinds of stuff. There isn't really a plan behind that, or if there is, it's not really... well, you've got this thing going on now, and try stopping it now. I try and do it with a lot of Defilers and Zerglings and Ultras and Lurkers, and perhaps a little bit of Mutas to clean up pockets without air defense, but Seda is just too good. And McRave, the plan, if there was one, it failed. And now these Mutas, they're sticking your pinky into a meat grinder, that is. All these tender Mutas, they're getting irradiated, they're getting blasted, and the tank's just going to roll up slowly. And I like McRave getting all the upgrades, but it would really pay off to get any kind of build order going. If it's dynamic generated, I think it's something different. But if these build orders are being put in, I think that they could be better. So, yes, TC Mu Zerg on the rise, McRave being updated. And let's hop into the next game. It's another good Zerg. Oh, I want to show you a Zerg versus Zerg even. It's Chris Coax, SSCAIT bot, suffering... oh no, I said it once before. Oh god, not another 4... what's the fun in 4 pooling? Now Pineapple going for a Sunken and a handful of Zerglings of its own. So that's, I think, good. Both players on 4 workers now for Pineapple and 3 for Chris Coax. And basically, Pineapple should just read it and keep the links at home, but instead. And that is, I think that's where the profit lies for this day and age, that you have got to think in larger pictures. So think in build orders. And Chris Coax just put up a sunken, and if you just held a 4-pool, you shouldn't try and overrun the enemy with Zerglings. Well, you can, obviously. You should do it a little bit more committedly and not half-assedly. Or just make a couple of drones, and if you are one drone in the lead and the enemy's sticking to a 4-pool, just make drones! It's... the APM levels are insane, but the thinking of what's going on levels are... well, could be better. And if you are going for the kill, just know that your enemy is building a pair of Zerglings at a time, and you don't want to send in a single Zergling. Now, Coax is going for more drones as well. That said, the lair is started already, and I think that these Sunkens are in the wrong position. And I don't know that it will matter much, because Pineapple is going to go into overkill mode and has double the number of workers, has got more hatches, and Chris Coax is trying to restart from nowhere. And the only reason it's tapping out because... oh, the mutas are there now. And they're going after the Sunkens. And they're going back. And God knows what's going on in the mind of Pineapple, but... you can see so many games going off the rail where a human player would just find a way. Even as a Chris Coax, right now you could come back as a human player. And that might be... oh god, it's going to mutas. And at least Pineapple's mutas know what to do with mutas, and compared to Sunkens. And Pineapple's all over the map now, and is building a lot of units, but... it's just not really going to work. The mutas, they... hang him over the drones, and this game is over in 30 seconds. Then again, why are they burrowing? And this is... so if you had a situation where you could save a game, and then like this, and as Chris Coax tried to come back from it as a human player, you could still find a way. A couple of Sunkens probably, and a lurker or two, and not go for a Queen's Nest right now, because that doesn't make any sense in whatever frame of mind you're in. And right now there are 26 mutas, and they are... oh, they're finally coming into attack. And some Scourge going after... oh, and now the Link's coming in after the Sunkens, and it's... well, Pineapple is getting into macro mode, but macroing and making stuff, and that's the easy bit, but the build order... and thinking, having a theory of mind and self and what the enemy is doing, that's really going to be interesting. And I thought, well, why not get a game of a good PvP on? And I'd like to show you one game of IceLab, because IceLab has got, if not the best theory of self and self-image, it does sort of know what is happening in the game. The coders of this beautiful bot, they know a lot about StarCraft, and they can do some... it's very robust, and it doesn't really make many errors, and it can, if it spots air units, it will make Goliaths and turrets, and if it spots cloaked units, it will get some more detection, and it's very refined. Now McRave has got goon range, has got some goons, and Ice is there with the bunker, which, oh, it just lives, and now that's... okay, well that pays me for praising IceLab. These Marines just ran off and straight into the goons for no reason I can imagine. High ground use, which you are seeing with some Terrans these days, originated from Ice, and Ice is doing it pretty well. And you can see this leaving the bunker if you know there are goons outside. That's... okay, so these are still things that Ice could improve upon. The source is publicly available, so that might be a nice starting point. But all in all, it is defending with a handful of tanks and some marines in the bunker, and has got the natural up despite being under pressure, and that's pretty hard. Now the goons are going after the depot and the barracks, and the tanks are just too far off. So the answer to that by a human player would be to move a couple of tanks down to the low ground, positioning them around here, so the goons would have to walk straight up to the wall to try and do something about the tanks. But ICE is going... what's it building? It's building workers and infrastructure. Well, it could do with a couple of more tanks, and McRave is flapping about a couple of goons over here. I don't know why that is. Will we get any kind of superior technology? No, we will not. So that even makes the question a little bit more pressing. What are these goons doing in the natural choke? And ICE is making more combat units now. So that's, I think, is good. Tanks on the low ground could be nice, and this... it's not a good day for taking a walk. I can assure you that. There are goons out there, and goons out here as well. So, still, even with two very good bots, it's hard to say. And now ICE is making has made another bunker. I think that's nice. Still, all these tanks on the high ground. Oh, McRave is losing so many goons. Oh God, it's... it's blue soup all over the place. And now this bunker is being killed. Now tanks on the low ground. A turret being added. And McRave finally took a natural. But these goons are so suicidal. You know this tank is over here and don't... There are going to be goons over here in the killing fields. Just know it. And you can see the tank count for ICE growing. Growing and growing and growing, and McRave is not... it's got map superiority, and this is a rubbish place to build a building. I don't know what it was, but it was not good. And ICE now has got so many tanks. McRave could take another base. Yes, there it goes. Get some more tech units. Finally a rover bay. But you are not going to break a two-base Terran which has got a huge number of tanks with pure goons. That's not going to happen, not ever. And yeah, that's the jaws of death. And you know that these tanks one day will have had enough of these pestering shots of the goons and will just move down and kill things. Now the goons are over here for reasons. Oh, goons are defending bases. I like that. I really do. But you can see the problem for McRave growing over here. That, yes, you are going to kill a depot and perhaps the barracks, but oh, that's 10 goons lost for a couple of workers. Oh well, the ICE is throwing away a lot of units. Main is mined out. Natural's getting low as well. But still, there is such a huge army. There are 24 tanks. If you leapfrog them a little bit, they could do so very well for you. Now McRave is defending. I like this. This is really great. Building production over here and defending it with a handful of goons. Could have a cannon or an observer, but otherwise... oh, the cannon's over here. Otherwise, it's pretty good. What kind of work is coming out of... oh, and an SCV did move out, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Scouting SCV being killed. McRave doesn't believe in giving enemy... oh! I missed a huge battle, and now McRave has got very few units, and ICE is on the move out. And ICE's natural is sort of down because all the SCVs are dead, and this base... oh, well, a couple of workers do manage to sneak through, or at least one. It's going to stand still over here, I don't know why. And now you can see, earlier McRave was at 40 and ICE was at 90, so ICE doesn't really have the economic power to get anything done anymore. And McRave is playing this... what's it making? Arbiters and goons, so it's trying to emulate the Cutest, and I don't know if that's the right choice, because the Cutest is always doing everything with goons. You can, but of course it's very hard to do things with superior units, because if you want to play Templar or Reaver or air units versus goons or cloaked units, it's very, very hard, and it's just relatively easier to just get the micro going. And now ice can't make anything anymore, and this is going to be the Alamo. It's 40 supply for ice, and it's getting less and less, and although this attack will be beaten back, that's only the +1, and Protoss is working on all the upgrades, and we've got the first Arbiter. It's getting scanned, but with 2 comsats, and nothing's happening here, and I don't for the life of me know why, but ice is just running out of scans, and then it will be over shortly. McRave is building a lot of zealots and another Nexus. Look at the production tab, it's just making 10 combat units at a time. That's really impressive. It's getting maxed, lots of workers, and just going to trade. So yeah, that's it. Arbiter's now killing tanks. So, oh, and Dark Templar, that's very good, because if you've got Arbiters, you will need Dark Templars to get things going. So that was the game. Congratulations. Penultimate game of today is going to be Proxy versus McRave, and Proxy has made some nice improvements in the last couple of months, but then sort of stopped in its tracks, sort of stalled in its development, and it is still a monster, but it needs, and that's what is impressive about the really good bots like Crazio and Ice Labs and McRave, you saw earlier, under pressure, taking a natural, sticking to your own plan, and having an answer to what the enemy is doing. And I like this by Proxy, just putting up a creep colony, and if the enemy is coming to come at you, you have just got this one sunken, and this scout is doing beautifully. Not only is it getting a lot of information out of the base of the Reavers, it also is detaining... Oh, and that is a fight you shouldn't have picked, Mr. Proxy. It's also detaining the army, but I don't think that McRave is really wanting to do things with these zealots. It's much more interested in sending over, and look at it, hugging the walls of the map, cutting off a portion of it. Nice touch right there. It's going to kill overlords, and there you see there is no anti-air, and that is a bad surprise for Leculus, because the Lings are not... Oh, the Lings are quite many, and they take care of all the zealots. There is a Reaver though, and the workers, but lots of workers are falling, and lots of mining time lost. McRave now down to 14 workers, and if McRave will find a way to get out of this mess, and if you have got, you'd be well advised to build a thingy, an evo chamber and some spores, but then you can set up these safe areas. Like this is a safe area for a small goon push or a couple of zealots, just 2 sunkens. And even if they don't stop all the units, the enemy units in their tracks. Oh, and the Mutas have things well under control. McRave wasn't fighting on top of the cannons, which it should have done. It's these little safe areas which will make your game a lot easier if you can use them as intended. You can see these Zerglings and this ragged band of Mutas won't have a chance. And now Proxy is going for this clustered Muta micro, which is so very beautiful, and it is, by the looks of the number of players who are pulling it off right now, it's not the hardest thing to do. How many Mutas in that cloud? Only 9? And no spores yet. And that is just because you know there are going to be Corsairs, and there are 1, 2, and no, not more on the way. The Scourge just die for no good reason. Perhaps they were going after the shuttle, but then they had better commit and not waver in and out all that much. You know there are going to be Corsairs, and if there are Corsairs in the game, you know you need... And it's not the investment, you're losing so many minerals right here to 1 Corsair, 2 Corsairs, and now McRave's going for the natural. I think that's a good decision. The Muta Micro could be better. Again, could be better. But I think the Hydras are going to be okay. They need to be grouped rather more precisely than... Oh, and the Mutas are just going to lead the charge versus the Goons. The Hydras will mop up the Goons, and I think that Proxy will be in a good position with a 2 a 3 versus 2 base. Second base is not really online, and McRave is still suffering from that reduction in worker count. And the Hydras are at the door. But again, 3 cannons, and you can see that together with the gateway unit just waiting for the Reaver. Although the cannons do fall, you are not losing a base, and this Reaver could be a little bit more committed to help save its friends and buildings and workers. And now the worker count again is suffering for McRave. It's down to 20, and this Reaver is mopping up the last Hydra, so that's good. McRave with a nice army, but Proxy with the 4th base done and the 5th base already started. Army production is there, but should be a little bit better, because you know that the enemy has got a 2-base economy. And it's a good thing that these Zealots and Reavers, they could do away with this small number of Hydras, but the combat micro is just not there, and the Reavers are running without firing. The High Templar hasn't got Storm, and that's a very expensive loss, and I think that now McRave will be suffering horribly, because the cannons weren't re-erected, and Proxy is just going to run, oh dear, oh, run amok with this game. Look at all the bases it's taken, and this observer is seeing it, but it's not really happening, and there was no evaluation that the Corsairs were doing pretty good. There weren't any spores, so a couple of more Corsairs could have worked wonders, and Proxy is now supply blocked. It's making a lot of stuff still, but only 1 Overlord. That's pretty wacky, but then again, this game has been run, and so hard is it to really analyze what's going on and counter it. That is very difficult to accomplish. So I am probably going to call the GG right here, because 5 versus 130, and still Proxy is making 1 or 2 Overlords at a time, and the Corsair are still doing great. The Scourge are over here, and yeah, well, GG, last game of today. It's a Seda again, because I just haven't been showing very much of Seda, and it is the dominant bot. Still, last update from half a year ago, and no one has been able to correctly crack it, or it must be Purple Waves cheese builds, because they are not countered by Seda. But in general play, Seda is king right now, and it cannot be stopped by anyone, and that is something to be very, very proud of, because development in Brute AI is still pretty strong. Crazio Protoss going for... I like that. That's a nice bunker. And that should make it very hard for Crazio to cross the Rubicon, so to speak, and move into the natural. A little bit faulty contain right here, but it looks like it's not going to be a fully committed contain, because Crazio sort of knows that there are going to be siege tanks. Oh, and the first tank is going to be lost, and that's not good at all. As a Terran, your first couple of tanks are so valuable. Oh, here comes another one. It's going to be repaired, and pray to God. Oh yes, that's the ticket. Just blast him from a safe distance. Now Crazio is probably going to go into its Dark Templar play, and as far as Protoss gameplay goes, it's just 3 cheeses, one on top of the other, and it's not really something to be proud of, but it's glorious to see how it still works versus one of the best bots out there. Now, 1 cannon or 2, oh no, that's going to be piling, I think. 2 cannons and a goon can hold off the run by of vultures. It's not overly expensive, but it's just this little safe zone outside of your base, and the pylons over here will give you a lot of hit points, so in case the tanks do rock up to do damage, you will buy a lot of time with them. And now Crazio is taking a third. What's it going to do? Are the Dark Templar out already? I think there is one. It's staying indoors, and you already saw that scan going off on top of the base, so Seda exactly knows what's going on. And oh, that's a nice drop, right outside of range of the cannons. And is there a single combat unit? Yeah, well, there are a couple, but they're all pent up right over there, and this Dark Templar is running after the Vulture, while this tank is decimating the worker lines. Most of them have been transferred to the third. I like that. Crazio not losing anything, doesn't have to. Losing a couple of cannons, perhaps a pylon, and the tank then gets killed, and that, I think, is all worth it. Now Crazio taking yet another base. I like how Crazio knows where it can expand and where not. The cannons over here are in the wrong position. That's unfortunate. that could be improved upon a little bit. This Dark Templar is having his work it out for it. And now Seda is going for the kill right over here. The tanks, though, I think that Seda's out of scans with only 2 bases. It's only got 2 comsats. I heard one going off right there. And now there is no anti-air, and the first carrier's out already. So the third cheese for Crazio is doing a lot of damage. How many interceptors? Well, 3, that's not the most. Are more carriers coming? Yes, there are. And Crazio has got quite a bit of economy right over here. It just hasn't got any fighting force. Its army consists of 1 carrier, 1 goon and 1 zealot, and Seda is just harassing it all over the place while taking a third. So, although Seda is suffering a couple of setbacks and losing a lot of units in the natural choke due to the cannon and the thing overhead, it's also freeing up supply for more potent units like tanks and Goliaths, which it's not building. As you can see, there are only 5 Goliaths, and either that's a complete misread, or it hasn't got any pertinent memory to Crazio's build order. And this is just a money soak. First class, so many vultures are dying, and Crazio is making more carriers and also interceptors. So interceptor count right now is 13, and that's a measure of Crazio's fighting power. That said, this carrier could do very well against the siege tank. This one right over here is cleaning up a lot of stuff, meaning vultures, and Seda isn't really interested in making very many Goliaths, so that's strange. Another drop is come in somewhere, but right now there are more carriers, and Crazy is just taking another base. So the 5 thingies which are here, Goliaths, they are in place, and now Crazio is trying to go for something. Oh, and now we see more Goliaths coming up. The carriers are fighting some kind of distributed war, which is not the best. And finally this tank is being sort of engaged, but these 5 Goliaths, they are chasing Crazio's carriers all over the place, and they are just not committed to... Ooh, that was very unfortunate. That might just have decimated the entire anti-air force of Seda. Seda, though, is going to play like a boa constrictor and not be afeared. 41 interceptors, but just Crazio not able to get its show together. We've got 1 carrier over here, 1 over there, 1 sitting over here, and 1 over there. Oh, and 1 coming in from the main. Oh, 2 coming in from the main. And the Goliath count is now not really as strong as could be, but there are 15, and well, you need better carrier micro than Crazio is demonstrating at the moment to stop it. So Seda, despite all kinds of cheese that Crazio is throwing at it, is going to be victorious, I fear, or I think. Crazio's still got a lot of economy going on, because it's just that the carrier micro is just so bad that it is really hurting it. And killing vultures is okay, but the problem is not the vultures anymore, it's the tanks and the Goliaths, and the Goliath count is now 21, which is quite a bit. Seda is maxed and can just start banking money from now on and just replace what's going out of order due to the occasional carrier fire of Crazio's. And this is a beautiful monster to behold. Would be a nice trick just to have an arbiter and just stasis something here and lock it out. That would be a nice trick to do, but you can see that Crazio is slowly using money. And Seda has got this 2-army approach. One army is sitting on top of this base, and the other army is just pushing up to the main. Crazio defending for what it's worth. 45 interceptors, still has got a bit of income from here, but now there are tanks over there as well. And although the carriers are sort of liberating that base, the interceptor count is dropping because there is just too much Terran in the game at this point. So, I'd like to conclude this broadcast with thanking all the authors of these magnificent bots. I have had a blast. I hope you like the games as well. Please recommend some of them to me. You can find my email address here right at the top left. For now, thank you for watching. I hope to see you again next week, and goodbye.